New bipartisan legislation introduced by Michigan Congressman John Conyers Jr. and Walter Jones of North Carolina seeks to protect special counsel Robert Mueller from being fired by President Trump. Jeff Pegues joins us now to discuss the state of the investigation into Russian meddling in the 2016 election. Jeff, can you tell us more about this new proposal? How much is this fear that the president would actually try to interfere in the investigation?
Well, the fear is real, it seems, here in Washington, at least among some members on Capitol Hill, and that's why you see this legislation being introduced. This is a House version of a bill that was also introduced in the Senate because there is concern among some legislators that the president might take action and move against Robert Mueller, who is the special counsel. The White House denies that that's anything that the president is considering at this time, but you just never know, and I think that's why members of Congress are going this route. And what it does is it allows the special counsel to go to court to challenge any type of removal if it happens, and that's a big if at this point.
It is being reported that special counsel Mueller met with top members of the House Judiciary Committee Thursday. It's also being reported that Chairman Bob Goodlatte of Virginia has even called on the Justice Department to appoint a second special counsel to address, quote, unaddressed issues related to the 2016 election. Do we have a sense of what that meeting was about or why the committee is calling for a second counsel?
Well, I'll say this. I don't think there's an appetite based on what I've seen and heard from people on Capitol Hill, that there's an appetite for a second special counsel. But what we found with the first and only special counsel in this investigation is that he is routinely going up to Capitol Hill and meeting with members of Congress because you have all of these different investigations running at the same time. And the investigations on Capitol Hill don't want to conflict with the special counsel's investigation. And so they are routinely having these meetings where they're talking about turf. Where members of Congress can go in terms of their investigations and where the special counsel, Bob Mueller, wants them to stay away from.
And we also know that for more than 2 hours on Friday, a spokesman for President Trump's former campaign manager, Paul Manafort, testified before a federal grand jury. What can you tell us about that?
Well, that to me is really the big story of the day, and here's why. This is the first visible evidence that we have had in the media that there is a grand jury at this U.S. District Courthouse here in D.C. and that people are being questioned. And so you had today Jason Maloney, who is the spokesman for Paul Manafort, the former campaign chairman of the Trump campaign, going before this grand jury, and he came out and he made a statement. He said, I answered their questions. He didn't say much more than that, but it is visible evidence that this grand jury is there, that it is working, and that they are questioning people close not only to Paul Manafort, but people with connections to the Trump campaign and the Trump White House. So I think that was pretty significant. Yeah, it was just 2.5 hours, but we suspect that we will see more people connected to Paul Manafort and with connections to Donald Trump marching before those cameras heading into that district courthouse in the coming weeks, in the coming days. But it is an interesting development, I think, because it just speaks to the fact that this is an investigation that is real and that it is moving forward. The question is, how much longer will it go? And what we've heard from our sources, of course, is that this is going to be a fairly lengthy investigation because you have so many different issues at play here. You have misinformation campaign by the Russians. You have the probing of voter databases across the country. And then you have this question of whether there was collusion between the Trump campaign and Russian operatives or officials. And so there is a lot at play here. This is an extremely important investigation for this country. And so who knows how long it's going to take to wrap this thing up. But we know now that, you know, certainly with this visible evidence of this grand jury being impaneled and people being marched in front of the grand jury, that this thing is real.
It is real. A lot of issues, as you mentioned, and a lot of players. Jeff Pegues, thank you.